Okay. Om Ganana Tva Ganapatikam Avamahe Kavim Kavina Umashavastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspadana Shrinvanodivasi Sadam Mahaganapataye Namaha Prano Devi Saraswati Vaje Bhirvajini Vati Deenam Avitryapato Mahasaraswatye Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parambrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guruve Sarvalokanam Vishaje Bhavaroginam Nidhiye Sarva Vidyanam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha अस्मिन् गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः शिवशक्तिसमारम्भां भास्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मत्श्रीनाथपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. So Vishnu Sahasranamam shloka 71. Brahmanyo Brahma Krit Brahma Brahma Krit Brahma Brahma Vivardhanah Brahma Vid Brahmano Brahmi Brahmajno Brahmana Priyah Brahmavid Brahmano Brahmi Brahmajno Brahmana Priyah. Here I would like to clarify. There is a very important debate that is a well-known debate. How to pronounce Brahma, Brahma. That is the spelling, correct spelling. If you see Devanagari script, it is also written as Brahma. Standard rule of Sanskrit, Devanagari script for Sanskrit is anything that you see as a full letter is supposed to be chanted as half. Anything that is shown as half is chanted as full. So if you look at the script, Ha is seen as full, so it has to be chanted as Brahma. And that rule consistently applies for everything. However, when it comes to Tamil as a language, it is read as Brahma, Brahma, Brahma. So you'll always see people saying Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo. So Brahma. I don't want to debate on which one is correct and which one is wrong because none other than the sage of Kanchi, whom we all call as God, Avatar of Parameshwara, is himself has spent almost half a page or one page of discourse on his opinion on how this has to be chanted. In Tamil, he acknowledges that it is chanted as Brahma, not because there is no script in Tamil that supports Brahma. Because when we say Subramanyam, at that time we say it as Subramanyam. We don't say Subramanyam. Whereas when it comes to Brahma, it comes to Brahma. So he says, I don't know why, but it is okay for me. That is how he left it. Instead of taking a position on that. So I would like to follow the Guru and not debate much on that. I personally follow as Brahmanyo, but if you see most people, they will chant it as Brahmanyo. Either way, you're okay. Mahakramo Mahakarma Mahateja Mahoragah Mahakramo Mahakarma Mahateja Mahoragah Mahakraturmahayajva Mahayajno Mahahavihi Mahakraturmahayajva Mahayajno Mahahavihi Stavyastava Priyastotram Stutistotaranaprijah Stavyastava Priyastotram Stutistotaranaprijah Purnah Purayita Punyah Punyakirtiramanamaya Purnah Purayita Punyah Punyah Kirtiranamaya Manojavastirthakaro Vasureta Vasupradah Manojavastirthakaro Vasureta Vasupradah Vasuprado Vasudevo Vasumanahavihi Vasuprado Vasudevo Vasumanahavihi Sadgatis Satkritis Satta Sadbhutis Satparayanah Sadgatis Satkritis Satta Sadbhutis Satparayanah Shuraseno Yadushreshthas Sannivasas Suyamunah Shuraseno Yadushreshthas Sannivasas Suyamunah. So here, if you see, when I chanted the way Vasuprado Vasudevo, Vasur Vasumana Havihi, after Vasur there is a small nanosecond pause. So you don't chant it like Vasuprado Vasuprado Vasudevo Vasur Vasumana. You don't do Vasur Vasumana Havi. You say Vasur Vasumana Havi. So there are little nuances that you need to know. So as I mentioned, we will stop at 5 shlokas of Vishnu Sahasranamam today and go back to continuing Mundaka Upanishad. Right? Um, have you been able to catch up on the YouTube on the previous classes? Okay, please do, because if you don't keep that and follow what is being taught so far, you will not be able to appreciate the context of what is being taught next. So I will not repeat what has been taught, but I will let you go through the uh, YouTube classes, and if you have questions, then we can discuss that. And I will start summarizing the previous classes next time. Right. So we ended up on the second chapter, mantra 1. Tadetat satyam mantreshu karmani kavayo yanya pashyamstani tretayam bahuda santatani tanya charaya niyatam satyakama eshavah pantha sukrutasya loke. So the summary of that is basically this is the truth. What works the wise saw in the mantras, which means what works means the creation, the effort that happens automatically, which the wise means the sages and seers saw in the mantras, are much elaborated in the Vedas. So Vedas were actually heard by the sages and rishis, and they passed on the whole thing. Then you can question, hey, Adobe was invented only about 20 years ago, so how come we have the PDF? No, everything for centuries was always oral. The knowledge has been passed on orally, verbally. There was never anything in writing. And that question would have probably not been understood 20 years ago, but it can be understood now because we have so many different formats. I have a Tamil version, English version, and then the script errors because of manual, somebody who has typed those scripts, or the way Adobe presents those native scripts. For us, we say and if I put a swara in Devanagari, I can put the swara right below the akshara. But let's say if I have to type that ka in English, K-A-A, I can put the swara under the K or the A or the A. I'm just giving a very simple example, limitations. And there are many people who have invented new codes. The whole system of software works something called ANSI codes, Unicode. So that system has also evolved. None of those code are very conducive to any of the native scripts, especially Devanagari and Vedic scripts. So it produces errors. While we take pride in saying there are about 16 ways of learning Vedas to ensure there is perfection, there is no distortion as we teach and share for generations. So verbal in person was the only method. So it has been given to us by the sages, and that is what is being said here, which are the entire works, the creation, etc., has been compiled into the three Vedas. Originally, they were only talking of three Vedas. The fourth one came a little later. And the mantra says, you perform them over and over if you are a truth seeker. Correct? So when we are saying truth seeker, can you tell me what is the truth that we are talking about?
Yeah, it has been, even in the previous chapter, it is regarding that Brahman.
Correct.
So, in that context, it is coming that whatever you're seeking of the higher knowledge in that pursuit. Yeah.
That is the real truth. That is the eternal truth. That doesn't change, right?
Yes.
Just to set the context in today's world, the popular thing, somebody goes abroad and says something, comes back and says that I didn't say it. So you say what you heard live in that context is the truth, or what that person is saying today is the truth. So in our world, truth can be convenient truth, unfortunately. But the ecosystem that we live in, which is Earth, is only one part of it, is way beyond our distortion. I can't tell you that this is night. If it is daytime, it is daytime. Period. I can't sell it to you as night. Very simple. And if unless you pour water to the sufficient quantity, the plant will not grow. That is the truth. So I'm giving very, very simple, elementary level of examples, so that you get the context before you start saying, okay, now I understand as I raise my energy levels and I'm educated and I appreciate the things and I experience. More important is not bookish knowledge. Whatever I'm saying today, you can only appreciate by experience. For that, you have to perform many things, and that is what is being talked about. So you perform these things over and over. When say they say you perform, it means the nityanusthana, that you have your meditation, you have your yoga, you have your uh, mantra japas, and if there are times when you need to do tarpanas, you do tarpanas, then parayans, archana with the flowers, right? You will be stunned that there are different flowers recommended for specific gods. There are rules for that. It's not that you can take anything and throw at any god at any time. So there are two ways of understanding it. Take it as Vedas is the ultimate truth, and you start following it instead of you having your own rule and me having my own rule of the truth. It is better that we all align to one thing. In modern day, we keep loving to say this word constitution. So this is a very appropriate time for me to say. I always say that yes, you have to believe in the constitution. For materialistic thing, for your way of life, believe in the constitution and follow the constitution that man has written. But for living your life, the constitution is already there, written by somebody else. That is the creator of the cosmos. So you comply. If there are plants growing, you respect the plants and trees. You need a greenery around. You can't just wipe off everything, cut everything. You can't go to the sea and say, I will put all the reclaimed land there and do a reclaimed expansion of the land. You can't mess around with the basic ecosystem. It's a hugely complex system. And even with your artificial intelligence and chat GPT, you cannot conquer that. So the notion that we as humans can manipulate, can master it, can play around with it, mess around with it, is like playing with fire. So it is again important in this context to understand at a very basic level, because there is a huge section of people that propagate putting milk and ghee and honey on that shivling is a waste of resources. You can feed 20 people with that. Why would you put that milk and waste it? Why would you conduct a havan and throw tons and tons of ghee into it? Why would you throw all those resources or dravyas into the havan? It is a waste of resources. God is not asking. Hanumanji is not asking that I need oil bath every day. These are the modern day, the geniuses that want to propagate their theory, right? So you can either follow that, which are all always going to be biased, contextual, appealing to an audience, versus following a constitution that says these are the things that you need to do, right? As you do it, it is going to empower you or enlighten you into a path of experience, taking you to understanding what is the higher level knowledge. So there is an essential component there. Just as you understand, if I put you into a advanced applied mathematics class in engineering and you've never been to school, You've never learned the tables. You have never understood 1 plus 1 equal to 2. You have never understood a decimal system. You don't understand quadratic equations. I'm straight away going to put you into an applied mathematics class in engineering. It will all be Greek and Latin. You will not know what is being talked about, right? There is a reason why it is called applied mathematics. You have learned mathematics, and then that level of course at that level is how to apply it and understand the relevance to your day to day life. One example, if you're daily opening the tap and you're getting water, you take it for granted. Ah, nal khola to pani aayega. What is the big deal? There is so much of science and engineering involved in that whole simple process of taking the water from a reservoir and carrying it to your home, delivering it in a tap. The flow of water, the vorticity, the vortex that forms in the flow, and the amount of destruction it causes into the pipes that carry the water, something called cavitation as an effect. You need to understand all that stuff because you cannot be oblivious to the fact that the water comes through the pipe from a long distance. Source is somewhere that you don't know. You are sitting in the comforts of your home and getting the water, and you're saying, "Oh, I washed my hand with that water, so I am pure now." I'm giving a very simple example. So, if you don't know applied mathematics, you will not know how that water behaves from the point of reservoir through that motor pump, etc., to your home. What kind of impact it has on the pipes from the inside. Now, those pipes are of certain material, alloy. What impact will that flow cause to those alloy, and how much of that gets eroded, and how much of that comes with the water that you take, which you coolly take and drink? The moment I say slightly in an expanded, oh my God, I never realized that there are some things that are coming in that water. I have been brainwashed that the water is purified in a purification plant, so absolutely it is better than Ganga Jal. This is distortion of truth. So you need to have the basic knowledge of 1 plus 1 equal to 2, expressions, quadratic expressions, indices, logarithms, and then only you can understand applied mathematics, derivatives, etc. Without understanding that, you cannot go to fluid mechanics at the engineering level. Without the knowledge of fluid mechanics, you cannot understand and appreciate a simple concept of water coming in from a reservoir to your home. I'm trying to set the context, the lower level knowledge and the higher level knowledge. Here, either you can keep asking, give me clinical data that this HOMA does a lot of benefit, for which there are evidences available in today's world, thanks to some PhD students who have done the study, that what is the impact of HOMA, why it is going to help you maintain the system that you are a part of, right? You don't want to be whining all the time. Oh, there's a global warming. Global warming. My neighbor told politicians said, and the news anchor in the TV said global warming, but I don't know what it is. I'll also join the bandwagon and keep saying global warming. Or face the impact of global warming in your day-to-day life. And it can impact your day-to-day life in a sense that you don't know whether to water the plant now or not. Is it going to rain today? Is it going to be cold outside? Is it going to be minus, or is it going to be in the plus? You don't know. And we get educated with all the terminologies. El Nino. We are only following blindly as a parent. Instead, I would prefer to say, okay, I will understand what the system is all about. I will be rather compliant and not mess around with the natural system that I don't know and mess around with the system that I didn't create. And that starts from following the basic lower level knowledge, grasping that knowledge, and performing those things that the lower level knowledge is asking you to do. So you perform them over and over if you are seeking the truth. And it is not like you start doing the Homa and Archana today, next year you're going to see the truth. It takes years and years in terms of doing some kind of a word tapas. And moment you say tapas, only thing comes to your mind is the saffron dhoti. No, tapas is I cannot live without a morning coffee. I have given up that is also a form of tapas, right? So the word tapas, the word yajna, what it means, it is important for you to understand a wider scope before you embark on the path to seeking the truth. So that is what the mantra 1 was saying, which obviously, in a slightly more complex language, which I alluded to, is it's always a question: do you first get the knowledge and do that, or you do something to get the knowledge? Correct? It puts the mantra number 1 puts it to rest, which says karma kanda. Karma means anything that you do. Karma kanda precedes the jnana kanda. And it is very easy for people who do not want to put in that effort and believe in our system to easily start becoming the judge. It's a very confused system. First, you're saying you have to get knowledge to do the action, and then you come back and turn around within in the same breath say actions precede jnana. No, here what you're talking about, I can interpret it in a very simplistic way. There's nothing like first, second, first, second. It is like a spiral. You gain some basic knowledge, you perform actions, karma. That opens up the door for higher level knowledge, which is jnana. That jnana is going to allow you to perform higher level karma, and it is like a spiral. That is the only way you can go. You put in your investment with the basics and let the experience guide you. I'm teaching many things to many people here. There are many people who come back and they have said, and I've not started this yesterday, so I have got data for many years where people come and say, I never realized. Now I know what you were saying. Because somewhere at some corner of their mind, maybe there were some challenges that they faced that put them down the path that let me now look towards God and follow this path and see what happens. Until that person does it, karma, they will not get that jnana. That jnana followed by karma that is what is the reference. Reading a book alone is not jnana. Am I making sense? So these are the unlearning that you have to do to learn the right thing. Fair enough? And so much so that there are now people who have now come forward asking me to teach Vedas. Some of the people who had genuine questions about it. What is the point of doing all these things? Are we doing something like a cult? So you can understand when you put in efforts, when you try to learn things, and when you try to practice it, that experience that you gain is essential for you to move forward. I don't believe in people who say, "Oh, I have learned, Devi Mahatmyam, I've learned Lalita Sahasranamam, now I've learned Vishnu Sahasranamam. I know this, I know this, I know this." This I know business is absolutely very superficial. That knowledge has to be in the level in which where you are able to appreciate and connect with the system that you're part of. Then that knowledge is useful. Make sense? So in this particular second chapter, the Shruti exhorts mainly those people who are seeking those heavenly enjoyments to engage themselves in sacrificial works. So the keyword is sacrificial works as described in the Vedas. The motive here is by such performances, man will gain the experience of the truth of the ephemerality of the worldly as well as the heavenly enjoyments. You can't just say, I will completely, tomorrow onwards, I'll stop eating, fasting. I don't need anything from this world. I'm looking for truth, so I'm going to. No, nobody's saying that. You transition nicely from your materialistic world to a world which runs on sacrifices, restraints, understanding your system, discovering yourself. If you're a seeker of truth, that is what it is being said. So, unless the man experiences it himself to a certain extent, the higher doctrines of renunciation, jnana cannot have any hold upon him. Meaning, unless you have the courage to stay, I will start following some of the renunciation recommendation that is being given to me and experience it oneself. Merely reading the book alone is not going to give you jnana. So that is where the context of saying karma kanda and upasana. Upasana is you can't say, oh, you told me Kumar, so I did puja and mantra japa yesterday. So that is my karma. No, upasana means you follow it diligently to a routine, to a schedule. Right? Even if you cook a food, it takes time. You have time, right? Rice, you keep 20 minutes in the cooker. You keep it in microwave at least 10 minutes. Those are different timings depending on the context and the resources that you use. So here, you have to follow that as a upasana, as a routine, as a discipline. And that only opens up the door for higher level knowledge or jnana. That is the meaning of karma kanda and upasana precedes jnana kanda. So we'll go to the mantra number 2. Yada lelayate archis samidhe havyavahane tadajya bhagavantarenahuti pratipadayet. Tadajya bhagavantarenahuti pratipadayet. So yada means when. Samidhe is reference to a well ignited. Mark that word, a very important word. Havyavahane means in the sacrificial fire. So anything that you offer there in the fire itself is called a sacrifice. Number one. Number two, fire doesn't mean I have to see physically that fire. This is a second. I'm just sowing the seeds for you to understand the difference from that lower level knowledge and higher level knowledge. I'm sowing the seeds so that your mind starts working on it. What did he say? What did he mean by that? That inquisitiveness is important for you to even understand and open up your mind. Oh no, I will only believe that is fire if I see that color of your yellow or red and something coming out from somewhere. That is fire. Yes, that is definitely fire. There are also other forms. So anything you offer in the fire is called a sacrifice. So another point to note is in our system, we believe that whatever oblations or ahutis that you offer, right? Agni is also a devata. And we say that all the ahutis are offered to different devatas. You must have heard, like, right? Rudraya Namah Swaha. Or if you say Ganapati Homam, the whole rik of Om Ganana Am Tva Ganapatikam, you say Om Swaha, Om Ganana Am Swaha, Om Ganana Am Ganapatikam Swaha, Ganapatigas Swaha. So Ganapatigam will become Swaha when you have that suffix with Swaha. So you say offer the oblations with each Swaha, right? In some cases it will be ghee, in some cases it will be flour, in some cases it will be sesames, in some cases it will be mustard. So there are different dravyas, as what we call it as. Dravyas are the material that you offer as ahuti or oblations to the fire. So the procedure is simple. Like what you do with the idol, you do the dhyana avahana of the gods to whom you want to offer. You do the prana pratishtha, upacharas, and then you start offering the dravyas. That offering is like feeding that god. So if you want Varuna Devata to continuously bless you with rain and water, that whole system, I'm just giving one example. If you want Vayu Devata, you don't want this whole airflow to stop. You got to continue to do those havanas. I will then give in a much later time a simplistic translation which we in the materialistic world can understand. Right? At this time, Agni, anything offered to Agni is the oblation or ahuti. Anything you offer as ahuti is the food for that god. If you want that god to continue to do what the god is supposed to do in the overall system created by Brahman. right? We talked about in the previous mantras how it started from Om and it all came all the way up to Panchabhuta. From Panchabhuta, we came. We have learned all that stuff in the previous mantras. I hope you remember that. So, for that system to work, without which we can't live, in our own selfish interest, we must do these ahutis and homas. So, that's the physical aspect of it. Then there is a mental aspect of it, which is why I said anything that is a fire and there is a offer is called a sacrifice. We'll come to the mental aspect of it later. So, samidhe means well ignited. That is a very key thing. Havyavahane is in the sacrificial fire because it is a carrier of that oblation to the gods. It's a carrier. And out of all the modes of worship, like Tarpana, Archana, etc., Homa is supposed to be the fastest. It's like the concord of the system. So people ask, is it okay if I don't do Homa? No problem. You can go from here to Mumbai in 2 stops, 4 stops. You will still reach. The question of whether you will reach doesn't arise. The question is of the time it takes for it to reach. A Concorde can take from here to London in 4 or 5 hours or less than that, even 2.5 hours, I guess. So if you want to move fast, then you take the appropriate jet, appropriate flight. You don't sit in a goods carrier and say, okay, I want to reach it in 1 hour, right? So carrier of oblation to gods. Archihi is the flames, the actual flame. Lela yate is flare. Tada, then. Ajya bhagav, the two portions of fire. So you will say, where is Ajya bhagav? Tadajya bhagavanta. In that, tada ajya bhagav. Those are the two words combined, making it tadajya bhagav. So ajya bhagav means two portions of fire. Antarena bhagav. Antarena. When it combines, it becomes bhagavantarena. Antarena means between. I've already said ahutihi is what you offer. Pratipadayet, the last word is pour. Right? You don't take a ghee and throw. Can you throw a ghee? No, you pour. It's like it'll pour into the fire. So when the flame in that Agni, which is well lit with the flare, let the oblations be offered with faith. More importantly, with faith. So why I kept saying well ignited is you will see the flame from outside. And if you don't keep pouring the ghee, after a while it'll just die. It won't be seen outside. So just because now you don't see a nice flared up flame, does it mean that there is no Agni there? Yes, no?
It will be burning inside.
Absolutely. That is why I said a few minutes back, don't say fire means I have to see that red or yellow flame. That is a flared part. So you do fanning of that space in the Havan Kund, the flame will flare up again. So why it is becoming so specific is you have to offer the ahuti only when there is a flame, flare up. You cannot say Kumar said there is Agni there in the inside of the Havan Kund, so I can now put the ghee. Am I making clear? So can you at least respect it that when you chant these mantras without knowing the meaning, however, with knowing the meaning, how deep, how precise these mantras are in instructing you what to do and why to do and how to do. Now assume that you never attended this class, you never asked for this, I never started this. You were oblivious to something called Mundaka Upanishat. And you keep saying, show me the proof, show me the proof. Whatever you're talking is rubbish. Who is responsible? I'm not responsible. I am a nano particle in the whole ecosystem of educated people. There are people who are a million times more knowledgeable than me. Million times. That's maybe an understatement. There are people who have really taken them to a level that you and I cannot even appreciate. And there is a reason again for making that statement. I keep mixing this modern day context, a little bit of political correctness constantly, because that is what my purpose of teaching is. When I start talking about these things, I get mocked at in some forums because that person believes continuously mocking me means shut me down. He doesn't understand that I have not written this. This is not my creation or fiction. I am a mere reader of that and sharing that knowledge with you. It is written by somebody or given to us by somebody. It's not even written, right? So you can ask questions about clinical evidence, data, etc., etc., etc. It makes no sense. So first, you have to believe in it, go to the depth of it, understand it. Only then you will be able to be at the same wavelength of what I'm saying, right? So you took now time. You're investing every Wednesday 1 hour, and that is the kind of effort you need to put in understanding what the other person is talking. If you start countering me by picking up and googling some documents by Swami Vivekananda is a genius, right? But you have only read the things that he wrote or spoke after he attained that level of knowledge, correct? And he was a philosopher, seeker of truth. Swami Vivekananda never said, I am God. He is postdoc. You are probably in Montessori. Agreed. But to use his words and misinterpret by using selectively some words and context and challenge a lot of stuff without knowing that you are challenging his own foundation of perseverance of truth is a joke. So I asked only one question. I said, have you heard of somebody called Ramana Maharishi? Ramana Maharishi, if you see pictures, he will be a person sitting like this, only with the langot in pictures. There will be people sitting around him. So you can compare, oh, he's got 2 hands, 2 legs. So he's like me. Absolutely makes no sense. Because Ramana Maharishi is one of the Mahapurushas. Mahapurushas means a person who has gone through this path that you and I are even trying to learn now. And he has seen the eternal truth. He has experienced it. They are a completely different league. Now, this person praises Swami Vivekananda without realizing Swami Vivekananda's guru was Ramana Maharishi. And Ramana Maharishi believed in Kanchi Shankaracharya. He believed he is avatar of God. And this person, the mortal human being, self-labeled intellectual, makes a statement Shankaracharya deserves to be in jail because of what he did. Because he Googled some article, he read something about it, and a politically powerful woman wanted to prove her point, so she did something. So he's got the right and label to be called a liberal and challenges. I have no problem with your belief system as long as you maintain your belief system in your home. Then you are not like that COVID virus infecting the society. I have no problem. But when you start writing articles and you go to every social media and you start narrating your belief system, my child, which is just growing up, might probably get confused. Should I believe my dad or should I believe this 20 times more magnified social media content? Wherever I go, on Instagram, I see that. In Twitter, I see that. Then I have a problem. You understand what I'm saying? The reason why all of us need to learn this, learn it the right way, understand the meaning, and pursue that level of knowledge that is essential for us to understand what we are talking about and why. So, back to this, you have to give the oblations of the ahutis only when the flame is flared up, well lit, not like a small flame hanging somewhere, well lit, nice, flame. And you have seen our gurus performing Chandi Home, right? And you would have seen many other homes also, how the flame is, Agni Avaganam is done. So between two portions of fire where the ghee should be poured. So flame is considered as the tongue of fire. Tongue. And hence, you put the ghee in the tongue so that it goes into the mouth of Agni. That is why there is requirement of flare and the flame is required. So when the flame is smoldering, you cannot offer and you should not offer the ahuti. Very simple. A big mantra, but a very simple rule being set. Are you able to follow so far? Or is it getting too technical?
The second part, can you just split and tell the meaning again?
Which one? Tadajya bhaga vantarena huti pratipadayet, right? So there, tada means then. Only then, when there is a flare, then ajya bhago, the two portions of fire, antarena means between the two portions of fire. Ahuti is the libations that you offer. Pratipadayet means pour. That means you must pour the ghee only when there is a flame, which is the tongue of the fire or Agni. Clear? Radha, so far so good?
Yes, yes.
Is it making sense and relevance of interest, or we are deviating?
No, it's good. It's good. And I was just having some other thought on this.
Go ahead.
Is it that when they say when the flames are really, in full flame, does it also mean that our own faith also should be to that level so that we are, getting the
Yes.
We are more closer to the
Yes.
path.
Yes.
Like
Understand, we are very selfish. That's the first thing that we have to be very honest, and we have to accept publicly. Humans don't do anything as charity. Even in charity, there is a selfish need. I'll offer you this donation, you do me this. And there's no shame in accepting it, because we are mortal humans. We are meant to do that. Even in our very core of Vedam, when we chant Rudram, the next thing we chant is Chamakam. We don't want to lose time, because God, somewhere if he goes away, then problem. As soon as you finish 11 Anuvakas of Rudram, we start 11 Anuvakas of Chamakam. And in Chamakam, if you go to the depth of it, you will see there is not a single item except for Tesla and Apple watches. Everything else is included. Give me everything. That is the greed. That is what our human minds are trained to do. We are grown up. We are tutored to do for all our life. And then we say we didn't get moksha. No, sorry, that is fine. That is where you started. But then you need to graduate. And that is where I shared the Sadhana Panchakam template, which I love the most. For anybody who's confused at what age, who should do what. Like the 16-year curriculum is also done with some science behind it. How much is the brain developed and evolved at what time, at what age of a human being, and what kind of information can be absorbed and processed, right? It's a different story than now people manage that also and catch up, where people are taught applied mathematics at the age of 2. That's a different story. But this is part of the thing that any human being should know. Okay. So, anybody has got a hard stop now, or can I just take another 5 minutes? Okay. So, there is a term called Agnihotra. How many of you have heard that?
we have heard. Yes.
I don't know how many of you understand the meaning of Agni in the true sense in your life. I'm giving you all simple explanations. As I said, I don't want to go into the Sanskrit exponential upanyasam kind of thing. There are many geniuses who do far better job than me. If you start doing Homa at your home, let's say you start doing Homa, Navagraha Homa, Ganpati Homa. If you pay attention next time, if you are not a Agnihotra, if you are not, the priest starts with something called Vichinna Agni Sandhanam. Vichinna means the tradition of maintaining the Agni at home is broken. So he will ask the lady of the house to come and say, okay, now please light the fire. Light the fire. You are creating it again because you broke it, because you are not continuing that Agni, it's your home. So there you do prayashchitam for that, and then only you start, and carrying that flame, you do the rest of the Homa. Okay? So what it means is you are technically expected to be Agnihotra, which means that fire will be there at your home every day. It never gets extinguished ever. So Agnihotra is defined as an essential component in the Grahasya Dharma. Grahasya Dharma means virtues of married life. This is shared by none other than Sumantu Muni. That knowledge was given to King Shatanik. That is where the conversation came into public knowledge, where Agnihotra, the fire pit, is an essential component of Grahasya Dharma, along with Vratas, where you do formal puja with vows. Vrat, आप बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में, गुजराती में व्रत. Vrata is another dharma of a Grahasya. Upavasas means fastings. When our Vedas say, people laugh at it. When the Western world tells you with subscription of hundreds of dollars per year, intermittent fasting improves your fitness, you lap it up. That's the unfortunate part of it. Niyamas, self-control measures. Self-control measures. Danas, charities. Devastutis means extolling hymns. We chant. Bhakti is important, devotion. Understand bhakti and shraddha. Many people use it loosely. You need bhakti to do a puja. You need shraddha to do a shraddham. Don't mix it up. Make sense? No? You never say shraddhayoda puja panna. You don't do puja with shraddha. You need bhakti for doing puja. You need bhakti for doing puja.
Shraddha means belief, no?
That's why I'm clarifying it. You have to unlearn certain things. Belief correct, but the context is important. You can't just pull out that word and say, I will use it anywhere. You do puja with bhakti, you do shraddham with shraddha. Okay? So, these are all the important things.
Shraddham. What is that?
Oh, that's whole story. I'll come some other time. You remind me next time. I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll get digressed completely. It's in simple terms. When you lose somebody in your ancestors, you do that ritual for the ancestors.
Oh yeah, Shraddha.
Yeah, Shraddha. Yeah. So they went to the extent of saying that a Brahmana's household without Agnihotra is incomplete. That is the level to which they have gone. So you are required to perform the Pancha Yajnas. When I started this class, I said, remember fire and remember yajna, you remember word sacrifice. They have got much more wider meaning and context than what we are used to know. The Pancha Yajnas are the Brahma Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Deva Yajna, Bhuta Yajna, and Athithi Yajna. We are very fond of, and even political circles also, we keep on saying how great Sanatana Dharma is, Hinduism is, and, we say Athithi Devo Bhava. So where is the connection by Atithi, Devo, Bhava, etc.? It's part of your duty as Atithi Yajna. So when you say Yajna, doesn't mean that you only see that flame and fire. Essence of Yajna is sacrifice, efforts. Okay? So to perform a Laksha Chandi, that is why it is called a Yajna. It takes a whole village to that. That is why it is called a Yajna. So as part of the yajna is all those parayanams that we did, 1,20,000, 1,40,000 is part of the yajna. Yajna does not mean only that fire. I hope I'm opening up the minds. Right? So these are required to be executed to ward off the doshas or the defects in each and every home that is arising out of the jiva himsa. That word is essential to understand. Jiva himsa. And where are the places where the jiva himsa happens? It typically gets committed at 5 places. Example, there is something called Oakley. How many of you have heard of the term? Mortar compounder. Correct. You see? So, there is a jiva himsa happening there. Chakki or the grinder, where you grind corn into flour, right? At the chakki. Can you give one or two more? Chula, the fire or the stove.
Fire, okay.
You are almost there for the next one. Yeah, please continue, Padmaja.
Grooming, okay.
Absolutely. No, you are spot on. That is the next. Brooming. Jhadu. And water pipe. So now Sonalji might understand why I spent so much time about applied mathematics and fluid mechanics. And correct. So have you ever thought that there is a jiva himsa or dosha you are acquiring by just opening the tap and drinking the water from there? But once you are putting in the effort to understand, you open your mind, you receive that knowledge, take it to absorb it, apply it, observe it. That spiral that I talked about or keep talking about is essential for you to become enlightened. So to understand one small aspect, it takes so much effort. So imagine if for 50, 60 years you have never put in any effort in this direction at all, and all of a sudden now you're in a race to say, okay, now I want a fast track to understand everything in 1 year. Not going to happen. You can condense it by putting in a lot of effort, but it's not going to be short circuiting the whole process because the mind has got a certain pattern of learning. You can't just short circuit it. Then what is the point of starting it now? No, at least you can start and ensure that you catch up where you left off, so that even if you have to come back in the next Janma, that Janma can be a very short lived one. You don't need to go through the torture for a long period in the next Janma. That is the bottom line. It's like the carryover of balance sheet, right? So, Brahma Yajna is Veda Dhyana or the recitation of Vedas, or it also includes Adhyapana or instruction. Which is why when people keep on saying, oh, Kumar, you're spending so much time and effort, you've got so much patience to teach all of us everything, and blah, 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 I don't start flying in the air. Because I know very clearly what I'm doing is out of selfish interest. Part of it, I understand it is my duty. part of it is also when I do good deeds, it improves my balance sheet. More than I'm not worried about whether I'm improving Padmaja's balance sheet or Sonalji's balance sheet or Radha's balance sheet. That is your job. I'm definitely improving my balance sheet. So if we are humble enough to accept it, then you don't have to fly high and your mind is under control. Pitru Yajna is the tarpanas that we talked about. So Sonalji, when you talk of Pitru Yajna, it is through tarpanas or havanas. Tarpana means water, which is water-based operation. And Shraddha Karmas. Shraddha Karmas is that Homa. It is also done as Hiranyams as an option, because every time you may not be in a position to do as a Homa. So Hiranya means by offering tambula and fruits, etc., dakshina to a Brahmana, you say, I'm still recognizing that. Now, you don't call somebody and go to a temple and make people who don't have a home or a shelter and offer them and say, I've done Shraddha. No. There is a process in doing that. If you see, even in a Hiranya Shraddha, it takes 40 minutes, because in the 40 minutes, you essentially, without going too much into detail, you need two components of that. One Brahmana is invoked. Into one Brahmana, you invoke the Pitru for whom you are doing the Shraddha, which means you have to invoke the Pitru into that Brahmana. There are two responsibilities. You have to believe that you have invoked and your Pitru has arrived at your home. You can't say, I'm doing Shraddha because somebody told me to do it. Now, Shraddha typically you do is Karyams in the afternoon time, 11:30, 1:30, 12:30. That is when you do it. So till then in the morning, you're not supposed to wear jewelries and put music at home or dance around and celebrate and do all this stuff. You don't even put your vibhuti or kunkumam, etc. You don't do abharanangal, makeup, etc. You don't wear silk saris for Shraddham. Very simple cotton. Which means when the Pitrus come, they must see that you really miss them and you want them to come to your home and you want to do your duties. If they see you that you are having a nice fun party and having dance, etc., they'll just go back. I don't want to disturb my next generation. They're having fun. You don't want that. That is the reason why until the Shraddham is done, they don't ask you to put the Vibhuti or Kunkuma. Right? If you understand, it is very simple. You don't require a PhD level knowledge to do all this stuff. So, Shraddha Karmas. So, there, one Brahmana, you invoke the Pitru. The other Brahmana, you invoke the Vishwe Deva. So, you make a note of it. You need the Vishwe Deva because he is the carrier of whatever you're offering to the Pitru. So there are different types of Vishwe Devas depending on what type of yajna you're doing or what type of Shraddha you're doing. There are differences. It's not just like all one size fits all. Okay. So these karmas are called the Pitru karmas. Deva yajna is dedicated to Devas by way of Havana karyas or offering with the classified butter or ghee in Agnihotra, so as to forward through that medium to the designated Devas. So if you really pay attention next time, you invoke each god one by putting their dhyana shloka. Suddenly the Vadyar will say, Jataveda Sahasranamam Somamatiyat. You are invoking Durga into the fire. Correct? Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam. You are invoking Mrityunjaya. So there is a dhyana shloka mantra for or rik for every god. You use that to do dhyana avahana. You think of that god and you invite that god into the fire. Once the god is there, you perform the upacharas, Dhupa Devam, etc. We know panchopacharas and other upacharas that we do. After that, you have to believe that the god is there. Just like when you do Shraddha, you believe Pitru is coming to your home. You have to have that belief. In that context, Shraddhayoda Cheyanam Sulva. But that Shraddha in the form of a puja karya is called Bhakti. Sri Rajaji had given a fantastic explanation, which you will hear. I'm going to share the Vishnu Sahasranamam track with you. Please don't share it to anybody because it's a paid subscription. Because Sanjay asked, I'm going to share that audio with you for Vishnu Sahasranamam. In the beginning of that, you will see Rajaji talking about Bhakti and Jnana. It will open up your mind. So here, that Deva Yajna is dedicated to Devas. Okay. And Bhuta Yajna is offering to Bali Vaishwa Deva. We'll keep that for some time as in the parking lot. We'll visit it some other time. Athithi Yajna is the last one, which means welcoming and hosting guests in the household. So you treat them like gods, which is why when you talk of Shodashopachara is what you follow in our dharma. Athithi. How many of you know what is the meaning of why somebody is called Athithi? I think you have heard it, so you don't say it, Padmaja.
One who comes without announcing, without telling the date or something.
Correct.
Tithi is
Correct. Tithi is the day. Tithi. So they don't announce and book an appointment and come. They just walk in. And that is why we say we don't know who is coming, which god is coming. They will come in the form of Atithi. So Atithi Devo Bhava. So you welcome the guest, host them, and treat them with a lot of respect. Okay. So it's taking a lot more time than what I anticipated. I will go into the details of Agnihota, the types, and what the benefits of that are in a very short thing in the next class. But I forgot what I wanted to say. I hope it gave you the context of your duties, dharmas, etc., and what to do, what not to do in the context of mantra number 2, right? It's such a simple mantra. For you to understand the context, you need to understand the bigger picture, right? And this knowledge is going to help you in your pursuit of discovering yourself or seeking that ultimate truth. This is what I want to say, and I want to close it on that note. When you we have a concept of pankti. If you have a puja or something at home, pankti means batch of people sitting for food together. So
Yeah.
you are used to eating rice or any grain for that matter. Correct. We do pariseshanam. So we'll come to what is pariseshanam, why do you do it separately. But have you not seen people just quietly talking non-stop while this food is being served? We have a concept of serving. We never believe in the buffet concept. These are all Western concepts. Serving. There are reasons why somebody is serving it. When they are serving, you have seen people talking loudly non-stop. Whereas we here, when we do puja, we don't talk. Most cases. There are events where people do the regular, usual stuff. But it was thanks to my father who passed away, who reminded me to say, why are you guys talking so much, Kumar? I think you should do what you have been taught to do. There is something called Trisuparna Mantra. I will be teaching that also to all of you. It is one of those rare mantras that has got the power where, let's say you have a batch of 500 people or 100 people in one pankti. One Brahmana, one Vedic educated person chanting Trishuparna mantra will remove the doshas for everybody sitting in that pankti. That is the power of Trisuparna mantra. Why dosha means that one grain of rice that you are putting in your mouth comes with a huge amount of effort and sacrifice of the entire supply chain. That farmer would have sacrificed his family, his efforts, time, etc., planting it, harvesting it, somebody packaging it, somebody putting it in a truck, distributing it, retailing it, billing it, issuing it to you, and you carry it home, including your wife that spent the time and effort to cook it before it comes into your plate and goes into your mouth. So the efforts of all those people, if you don't thank them, if you don't pay back by gratitude at least, if not by money, you acquire dosha. So you chant Trishuparna mantra, which is a form of acknowledgement of all those efforts, and say, I'm indebted to you, I'm grateful to you for every grain of rice or wheat that goes into my mouth. I just wanted to explain the concept of dosha, jiva himsa and dosha that you learned right now. Now I'm sure if you watch this YouTube video again, sitting in the comfort at the time of your convenience, it'll open up 1,000 more questions. And you will be like the driver, much more alert driving on the streets than somebody who has taken everything for granted. Make sense? So we'll stop here. I hope this session was useful. And feel free to let me know if you feel that there is any kind of a digression that is happening and you are not able to keep pace with the context. Because knowledge is good, but useless knowledge is also bad. Right?